Moving along to the actual meat of the presentation, problems and solutions. The first problem that I ran into was actually finding relevant data. I assumed that it would be a tad bit more easy because this is not something that has not been done before, but it seems to be a little bit more difficult than one would expect. I first needed a tool to go ahead and scrape the internet because I decided to utilize the internet. I decided to use Octoparse. I then went to the Wayback Machine, which is just basically a back archive of the entire internet. That proved to be very spotty and inefficient. I then decided to go ahead and search for other sources, which then led me to the Wall Street Journal, which back archives its news articles all the way back to 2010. I then progressed to scrape for each day 136 news articles for each day, which is about 365 days, which is then 365 days over 8 years. This then would then be needed to actually be compared to the daily stock values, which I then found on Kaggle. Kaggle gave me a complete data set from 1987 all the way up to 2017, excuse me, to then actually have the opening and the closing values, use those to utilize, give me a bull or a bear, an up or a down, for which I can then do the sentiment analysis upon the news headlines to see if that actually could help us predict the stock market. This would be step one. Step two then was decided upon to actually use a smaller test set, just clean that data because it showed that the data cleaning in itself using NLTK or any of the standard libraries would be inefficient and would not produce any relevant results or accurate or reliable results to actually move forward with. Therefore, I noticed that I'm probably going to have to do a lot of the data cleaning by hand. This being said, I wanted to go ahead and test it, so we just created small little test data. Using the little test data set, I'm going to do a logistic regression analysis so I could actually have a baseline to see if my hypothesis is true. I would then like to continue and build upon that, and by using the actual business dictionary, the definition of each word would then be analyzed for its sentiment, and then the word itself would be replaced by the value of that sentiment. So when I then compare it to the actual news articles, whichever would have or contain these words would then be replaced by the actual value. We can then use that to calculate the actual sentiment for that entire day over the 136 data points that we then have. And hopefully that will give us a more reliable outcome. This still is to be seen. And I hope that it will actually be a new approach or a newer approach or a better approach to the reliability of stock market prediction.